Have you ever had a doctor look at you and say, "What do you want us to do?" And in that moment, you realize nobody's asking what mom wants. They're asking what you want. And the weight of that question is crushing. It's crushing. Because here's the truth. You're not a doctor. You're not clinical. You're not God. You're just a daughter trying to do the right thing while drowning in guilt, fear, and the terrifying responsibility of making a decision you were never prepared to make. If that's where you're at right now, if you're standing at a crossroads between treatment and comfort, between fighting and letting go, between what the family expects and what your gut is screaming, this episode is for you. Welcome back to From Overwhelmed to Relieved, the Senior Caregiving Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Calles, Senior Care Consultant, Advocate, Certified Dementia Practitioner, and someone who has walked this caregiving path both personally and professionally. Because you deserve to get your mom the care she deserves without losing yourself in the process. If you're juggling your own life, work, marriage, kids, while trying to care for a parent with a complex need, if you're exhausted, overwhelmed, and secretly wondering how much longer you can keep doing this, you're in the right place. This is where we speak truth with tenderness, accept the messy realities of caregiving, and remind you that choosing yourself and loving your parent isn't selfish, it's necessary. Today, we're talking about something that keeps you up at 2 a.m. I know it did me. Something that makes your chest tight and your mind race. Something nobody prepares you for. The moment when you realize the decision isn't just about medical care. It's about honoring a person who can no longer speak for themselves. If you've ever heard, "It's up to you," from a doctor or a hospital team and felt the floor drop right out from underneath you, if you're terrified of making the wrong choice and living with regret, if you're trying to honor your parent while your siblings, your spouse, or even your own heart are pulling you in different directions, this episode is definitely for you. Let me take you back to 2006. My mom was in the hospital in Fresno, California, COPD, dementia, declining fast, when the doctor looked at me and my dad and said, "We can't keep her on life support at this hospital. We need to move her or we can let her go. It's up to you." Not, what would she want? Not, what did she say when she was still herself? Just, it's up to you. And my dad, the man who's been married to her for decades, he looked at me and said, "It's up to you. It's your decision." I was 37 years old, a mom, a wife, trying to hold my own life together, grieving my mom too. And now I was being handed this power to decide whether my mom lived or died. I have never felt so alone in my entire life. My brothers, one was looking at me with love. He was so sad. And one was looking at me like, "You better not." And here's what I want you to hear. I made the decision to let her pass with dignity. And I have to live with that decision every single day since. Not with regret, but with the weight, the weight of knowing I had to choose. And I did the best I could with what I had and what I knew at the time. When your parent can no longer speak for themselves, the burden of decision-making falls on you. And it's one of the loneliest, most terrifying responsibility you'll ever carry. Here's what's happening right now in hospitals, rehab centers, ICUs across the country. Families are being asked to make urgent, high-stake medical decisions without clear information about what treatments actually do to someone in a decline. Honest conversation about goals of care. Are we trying to extend life, improve quality of life, provide comfort? permission to ask those hard questions, support in navigating family disagreements. And as a result, daughters like you are making decisions in crisis mode. Daughters like me making decisions in crisis mode, under pressure, without time to breathe, and then living with the guilt and second guessing for years. One of my brothers still doesn't speak to me. And when we do get together, I don't know, but I feel like he's looking at me like I let my mother go. But here's what I've learned, both from my own experience and from walking hundreds of families through this exact moment. The question is not, what do I want? The question is, what would mom want? And how do I honor that? And to answer that question, you need three things. One, clarity on what your parent actually valued. Not what you think they want, not what your siblings insist, not what feels comfortable. What did they say when they were still themselves? What did they say? I never want to be a vegetable. I know my mom said that. Don't let me suffer. I know she said that too. Do everything possible to keep me alive. I don't remember her ever saying that, but I want to die at home. We never discussed. And I trust you'll make the right call. Never said that. If they filled out a pulse, like an advance directive or a will, read it out loud with the doctor in the room. If they didn't, think back. What did they say at funerals, when grandma was dying, when they watched somebody else go through this? Your job is not to make the easiest decision. It's to make a decision they would make if they could. 2, truth telling from the medical team. This is where adult daughters get failed the most. You need to ask the care team directly, plainly, and without an apology, what are we treating for? Recovery, stabilization, or comfort? What does this intervention actually look like day to day for mom? What are the risks, burdens, and likelihood that this will work? What happens if we don't do this? If this were your mom, what would you do? Don't let them rush you. Don't let them make you feel difficult for asking. You are not being unreasonable. You are being responsible. There's a huge difference. And if they can't answer these questions clearly, demand a palliative care consult. I didn't even know what a palliative care consult was. Demand a second opinion. Everybody knows what that is. And demand time. 3, permission to choose what's right, even if it's hard. Here's the part nobody tells you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. Sometimes fighting for more time means suffering, not more living. Sometimes choosing comfort over treatment isn't giving up. It's honoring dignity. And sometimes the guilt you feel isn't because you made the wrong choice. It's because you were put in an impossible position in the first place. You are not God. You are not a doctor. You're a daughter doing the best she can in an unbearable moment. And that is enough. When you get a clear on what mom would want, not what you would want, not what feels safe, but what she valued, something shifts. The decision doesn't get easier, but it gets clearer. You stop second guessing yourself at 2 a.m. You stop letting your siblings' opinion drown out your own knowing. You stop carrying the weight of what if and start carrying the peace of I honored her. And here's what I know from walking this path myself and guiding hundreds of families through it. You will not regret choosing what your parent would have wanted, but you will regret choosing what everyone else pressured you into. I want to say that one more time. You will not regret choosing what your parent would have wanted, but you will regret choosing what everyone else pressured you into. That's a really heavy statement. Here's some action steps. Here's what I want you to do. Right now, today, this week, find the paperwork. Where is her advance directive, her pulse, living will, DNR, full code? If that exists, read it. If it doesn't, have the conversation right now before the next crisis. Step 2, ask the question out loud. What would mom want? Not theoretically, not vaguely. In this exact situation, what exact prognosis at this exact stage? Write it down and say it to your siblings. Say it to the doctor. Say it to yourself in the mirror. Step 3, get the truth from the care team. Use the questions I gave you earlier. Write them down. Bring it to the hospital. Don't leave that room until you understand what we're treating for, what success looks like, what the burdens are, what happens if we don't intervene. Give yourself permission to choose comfort over treatment, to choose quality over quantity, to trust your gut, to honor your mom's wishes, even if it breaks your heart. You're not failing her. You're loving her in the only way you can. Here's your weekly challenge for this week. I'm asking you to do this, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's scary, even if it feels too soon. What would you want? Conversation. That's the conversation you need to have. If your parents can still communicate, even just a little, ask them directly. Mom, if you get sick and can't speak for yourself, what would you want me to know? Pause. What matters to you most? Pause. Time, comfort, independence, being home. If they can't communicate anymore, sit down with your siblings, with your spouse, or even yourself and answer this. Based on what I know about who mom was, what would she want in this situation? Write it down. Keep it safe somewhere. And then this is the part that matters. Share it publicly. Post it on Instagram and tag Clark County Senior Resource. Share it to your story. Say something like, I had the hardest conversation this week. I asked my mom what she would have wanted if she couldn't speak for herself. It was so scary, but I'm so glad I did it. If you're caring for an aging parent, don't wait for the crisis. Have the conversation now. Because when you share that truth, you give another daughter permission to do the same. Maybe she hasn't listened to this podcast. Maybe she's swimming. She doesn't know. Because when you share it, you're going to give her permission to do the same. Here's your weekly mantra. I honor my parents by honoring their wishes, not by carrying guilt that was never mine to carry. Say it out loud, write it on a sticky note, put it in your bathroom mirror. You're not making these decisions alone, and you're not failing. You're doing something unbelievably hard, and you're doing it with love. If this episode felt like it was speaking directly to you, it was. You don't have to figure this out alone. And here's the truth. You're not supposed to. Caregiving is not a solo journey, and trying to handle everything yourself is exactly what leads to burnout, resentment, regret. So let me help you. If you're in crisis, hospital discharge, decline, dementia, confusion, book an urgent consultation with me at shannon@clarkcountysr.com, or you can just text me at 564-227-8847. If you need help with clarity, if you need someone to help you make a plan and take action without pressure, guilt, reach out. That's what I'm here for. I work with families, not corporation, and my loyalty is with you, not facilities, not quotas, not anyone else's agenda. And please do these 3 things. Subscribe and rate this episode. Your review helps daughters who are drowning in overwhelm find the relief they desperately need. Your sharing your experience could be the lifeline to another daughter who needs to keep going. Share this episode with another daughter who's quietly carrying too much guilt. You know her. She's the one who always says, I'm fine, everything's fine, but looks exhausted. Send this to her. Let her know she's not alone. Do the challenge. Have the what would you want conversation. Write it down, share the truth, and publicly tag Clark County Senior Resources on Instagram. Let's normalize the reality of caregiving, the hard, the messy, and the beautiful. Next week, we're tackling another topic that every caregiver needs to understand. In February, we're going to be going over 3 stages of dementia and what to expect at each one. Because when you know what's coming, you can plan ahead instead of reacting in a crisis. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for being here. And until then, be gentle with yourself.